What's up guys, if you want to see more content from me and exclusive content, head on over to my Patreon, link in the description, patreon.com/TopsonWrestling. I'm going to be doing exclusive content, giveaways, you'll find TNA videos, reaction videos, gaming videos of the TNA game, and other wrestling content there, so check it out. If you are to support it, it would really help me out during this time, so it would be really appreciated. Check it out, let's get into the video. What's going on guys, it's Tom of Topson Wrestling, and today we're going to be looking at one of the most shocking and surprising debuts in TNA history that saw one of WWE's greatest female wrestlers of all time make her return to wrestling after being gone from the business for nearly 10 years. And as you can tell from the title, we're going to be talking about Chyna's one and only match in TNA. Before we do get into it though, be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video. According to my analytics, the majority of you guys watching aren't actually subscribed, so go ahead, subscribe, help me out as I'm trying to hit 200k by the end of the year, or as soon as possible. But let's go and let's get right into this video. So first, let's give some background on Chyna. Chyna debuted for the WWF on February 16th, 1997 at In Your House 13 Final 4. Her original role in the company was to play a bodyguard-esque character for Triple H and Shawn Michaels of DX, often helping them cheat to win matches. In 1999, she became the first ever woman to enter the Royal Rumble match, entering at number 30, eliminating Mark Henry before being eliminated by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Later that year, she also became the first ever woman to enter the King of the Ring tournament, making it to the quarterfinals before being eliminated by Road Dogg. And also that year, Chyna would begin competing for titles, at one point becoming #1 contender for the WWF title, the first ever woman to do so, before losing that spot to Mankind. But interestingly enough, the original plan was apparently for Chyna to keep the #1 contendership and go on to win the WWF title at SummerSlam, which would have been absolutely huge. While she wouldn't go on to win the WWF title or even have a match for the WWF title, she would go on to beat Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental Championship, becoming the first woman to hold the Intercontinental Championship in WWE, and she'd become a two-time champion when she beat Jericho for the title and would go on to become co-champions with him in a pretty bad storyline that WWE nowadays doesn't even acknowledge because of how stupid it was. She began an on-screen relationship with Eddie Guerrero that only lasted a few months, and after this she began competing in the women's division, winning the women's title at WrestleMania X7. And even though Chyna was of course a woman, the women's division at this time in WWE wasn't being treated great, and honestly Chyna's talent was beyond the women's division and she should have just stayed with the men's division. So yes, she did win the title at WrestleMania X7 in pretty much a squash match, and she'd defend the title at Judgment Day but vacate the title afterwards, as this was her final match in the WWF. Supposedly the reason she was gone from the company was because of disputes between her ex-boyfriend Triple H, and his new girlfriend Stephanie McMahon. In 2002, she would make a couple appearances here and there for New Japan Pro Wrestling, but after she left New Japan that same year, she was out of the wrestling business for good it seemed, as she had entered the adult film industry, and there was no sign of her coming back to the wrestling industry, well, ever really. But 9 years later, that was proven wrong, but we'll get there in a second. During January of 2011, Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett had begun feuding in TNA and agreed to face each other in an MMA rules match at Genesis. The match was thrown out after the third round. I don't understand why TNA did so many MMA matches. I mean, they had Tara versus Cody Deaner at one point, you had AJ Styles face a real life MMA fighter at one point. It was weird what they used to do. Karen Jarrett, the real-life ex-wife of Kurt Angle and the current wife of Jeff Jarrett, would get involved in the feud when Jeff Jarrett defeated Kurt Angle at Against All Odds, and as per stipulation, Angle had to walk Karen down the aisle when she and Jeff renewed their wedding vows on the March 3rd episode of Impact. However, this didn't happen of course, as Angle just destroyed the entire ceremony with an axe, because babyface wrestlers never follow stipulations when they lose a match. Like, that's just a thing that happens, I swear. At Lockdown, Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett would face off once again in an Ultra Male Rules 2 out of 3 falls match, with Jarrett picking up the win with help from Carol. Karen. Oh my god, I'm leaving that in. Karen, I meant Karen, okay? After this, Angle needed an equalizer. He needed to beat Jeff. He wants to beat Jeff, but he couldn't as long as Karen was around, so he needed that equalizer. And on the May 12th episode of Impact, Mick Foley introduced Chyna to TNA in one of the most genuinely shocking moments in TNA history, and she was revealed as Kurt Angle's business associate and his partner to face Karen and Jeff Jarrett at Sacrifice. Chyna was a great choice because not only was it an awesome surprise, but it meant that the odds were now in Kurt Angle's favour as Chyna was a wrestler and Karen wasn't. And of course, it was a great callback to Chyna and Jeff Jarrett's feud from the 90s. What better partner to get than someone who has history, that has storyline history with Jeff Jarrett? It was perfect. When Chyna came out, Karen literally collapsed to her knees when realizing she was having to get in the ring with Chyna. So let's talk about the match itself. Was it good? Was it bad? Let's find out. Karen and Jeff are out first, and Karen isn't even wearing gear and she looks scared for her life. Angle and Chyna enter and they are looking very patriotic in the red, white and blue colours, almost to get the crowd on their side, which they don't really need because they're the babyface team, and the crowd of course are firmly on the side of Angle and Chyna. Kurt and Jeff start out and the crowd are more focused on chanting "Chyna's gonna kill you," and this becomes a theme throughout the whole match. They're very focused on Chyna, and the camera keeps cutting to Karen, who is distraught and just in tears about this whole situation. Angle points at Chyna and the crowd go crazy. He then tags her in and they go even crazier. She gets in and Jeff and Karen both retreat as Jeff is also too scared to get in the ring with her, but the ref orders Karen to get in. The count for Karen to come in reaches 8, and as Karen's just about to get in, Jeff runs in and attacks Angle and forces Chyna to tag out to Angle to many boos. Just get Chyna in already. Angle locks in the Angle lock on Jarrett, but Karen distracts Angle, leading to Angle lifting up Karen and walking towards the corner to tag Chyna in, but Jeff stops Kurt from doing so, and the teasing continues. Angle and Jarrett continue fighting, and it's just standard stuff, but the crowd really want to see Chyna and are chanting, "We want Chyna." Kurt goes for the Angle slam, but Jarrett gets out of it, so Kurt hits the rolling German suplexes on him. He goes for the Angle slam again, but Jeff reverses it with an enziguri, and he finally hits the Angle slam on him, and it's a near fall, where you'd think usually it would be a big moment that someone just kicked out of a finisher, but the crowd couldn't care less because they just want to see Chyna in the damn match already. Jarrett hits a low blow on Angle while the ref isn't looking, and while Jarrett isn't looking, Angle scoots to the corner and tags in Chyna out of nowhere, who is now in the ring with her former rival. The crowd are going crazy. Jeff turns around into a pretty bad looking body slam from Chyna, followed up with a suplex on him, which looked better but still not great. And Karen must get in now by the rules, and with Jeff down, she can't be saved. She has to get in the ring. Karen is cornered by Kurt and Chyna hits her with a pedigree, which TNA calls a DDT style move. Nice copyright avoidment there. She then locks in the ankle lock on Karen, but Jeff comes in and catches Karen's arm just as she's about to tap, which leads to Kurt locking Jeff in the ankle lock, and the Jarretts both tap out in unison. So my thoughts on the match is I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. It wasn't exciting action by any means, but just the whole thing was a spectacle. I mean, it's Chyna after nearly 10 years making her wrestling return. Her moves didn't look too great, like I said, but again, you just have to excuse it because it's Chyna, and no one got hurt, which is great, and it was just so great to see Chyna back in the ring. It was a spectacle, the crowd were going crazy, which made it a much better match, and the crowd really wanting Chyna to get in the ring, and just going crazy for the entire match made the match a lot better. This, however, would be Chyna's one and only match in TNA, as TMZ reported that she and TNA had severed ties. Supposedly, they were looking towards getting her on a long-term deal, and they were working towards it, and were apparently very close to getting one sorted, but TNA had said that if Chyna released her second oomph tape, then she would never work for them again. And she did release it, thus ending Chyna and TNA ever happening. Chyna told TMZ, quote, "The whole thing has been constant drama. It's all good in the end. TNA is missing the boat. Freedom." Now, I'm quite indifferent as to whether I would have wanted to see this, because at this time Chyna was old, so she wouldn't have had much years left in her career anyway, even if she did sign long term with them. And as you saw in that match, she didn't do too great, so I don't know what she would have added to the Knockouts division, and knowing how TNA were, they probably would have made her the Knockouts champion because she would have been their biggest star there. But I think overall I probably would have wanted to see it, and I probably would have wanted to see Chyna as Knockouts champion, just because it's Chyna, man. Like, TNA, even if they did make her the Knockouts champion, despite her not being the best in the ring, she would have been a massive draw for them, would have helped the Knockouts division out very much. She could have helped train them, helped produce. She could have done more than just wrestle there, and she could have helped the younger talent, etc, etc. I think Chyna could have worked in TNA, but her not being there long term and only having one match wasn't too bad either. And of course, 5 years later, Chyna would sadly pass away, meaning that mixed tag was her final ever wrestling match, and to be honest, I think it's a great match to go out on. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for yet another video. I really hope you're enjoying the videos at the moment, guys. I'm going to be releasing more WWE content really soon, hopefully. I can't do TNA videos forever. Of course, I am going to try to do TNA videos forever, but I do need to mix it up a bit, get some WWE in there, so don't just go insane only talking about TNA. But yeah, I got some really cool content ideas that is quite different to a lot of what other WWE YouTubers are making, at least I think they are. But yeah, I'm very excited to release those. So yeah, leave a like on the video, subscribe with notifications on, check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/talkingwrestling for exclusive content and more. I'll see you all soon, goodbye, and keep on rolling.